Hey everybody, today we're going to take a look at another state for 2024 and which way it might be trending. And that is going to be the Hoosier state, that's Indiana. So as always, what we're looking at on the map right here are the presidential shifts between 2016 and 2020. Red lines move toward Trump, blue lines move toward Biden, the vertical lines indicate turnout. If you try to focus on Indiana, there is a lot of blue in that state, but there's still some places that did get a little bit redder. So it's not at all expected to be competitive. It has 11 electoral votes. It's a state right in the heart of the Rust Belt, which means it's going to have some interesting recent political history. So let's look at some of that history. So today we think of it as pretty much a solid red state, and that's true. In 2020, Trump won the state by 16 points. It's not really close to competitive. It's obviously not close to the reddest state in the country, but that 16-point margin was a little bit reduced from the margin in 2016. You can see Trump had nearly the same percent. Biden, on the other hand, did improve on Hillary's total by about 3 points. Much of that is going to be because the reduction in third-party vote when you're comparing 16 and 20. Now, before that, if you go back to the Obama years, before the Rust Belt had a sharp realignment, then you can see Obama actually famously flipped the state back in 2008 on his first run. It was pretty narrow, but a victory nonetheless. After that, it did lurch hard toward the right, and Romney won it by 10. Before Obama, the state does seem to be voting in line with where it does today. So it didn't follow the same path as its nearby neighbors of Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. And it's also clearly a redder state than next door in Ohio, but the Obama win in '08 does show you that the Democrats have had some success here in the not too distant past, even though outside of that, the state is fairly red. So let's look a little bit more at 2020. Again, we see Trump was at 57, Biden was at 41. The third party vote was way down from 2016. Joe Jorgensen had the most at just under 2%. Now we'll look at some of the county trends in a minute, but if we go down below and sort the counties by the total number of votes cast, we can see the one with the most votes is Marion. That has the big city and state capital of Indianapolis. And like with many urban areas, Democrats usually have a lot of success, and this county is no exception. It wasn't even close. Biden won it by 29 points. Now, the county with the most votes that Trump won was Hamilton, and this is just north of Marion. It's had a lot of growth, and it's heavily suburban. Although they did vote for Trump, it was by single digits, and it was sharply down from 2016. So of the 92 counties in Indiana, Biden was able to win only 5 of them. He was even able to flip Tippecanoe. But once you go down to the lower population counties, then we see the familiar pattern in the industrial Midwest. Counties that are rural and blue-collar break for Trump sometimes by 50 points or more. Now let's look closer at this map and see which way some of these counties have moved. For that, we can get on Ballotpedia, and this time the shading does not indicate the margins. That just shows you how often they voted for the Democrat or the Republican in the last 3 presidential elections. Let's start right in the center where a ton of population is in Marion County. So as we see, Biden won it by 29 points, and that's a clear improvement over Hillary's margin in 2016. That was about a 22 to 23 point margin, and that's similar to what Obama got over Romney in 2012. So again, with less third-party vote, the county did get bluer. Now while we're here, we've got to take a look at the suburbs, so let's go slightly north to Hamilton. There we can see back in the days of Obama and Romney won this county by a massive 34 points. 4 years later, Trump sank a significant 10%. Hillary went up almost 5 points. Then in the last election, Biden went up another 9 points while Trump went down another 3 to 4. So that is a massive narrowing in just 2 elections. It's a red enough state to where Trump should not be in any danger even if he loses significant suburban support. But it's definitely not a good sign for him if this county is in danger of flipping. The suburbs are key. It could also just as easily move back a couple of points toward the right. Now we can't look at every county, but in the Northeast, Allen County has some significant population. That's another one. You can see Biden doing better than Obama did in 12, while at the same time Trump doing worse than both Romney and his win in 16. Now one part of the state that could be a bright spot for the Republicans is going to be in the Northwest. These counties are also suburban and in close proximity to nearby Chicago. Some of the demographics and character of these counties could make it favorable for Trump. We can see here in Lake County, this is a fairly blue county, but it's actually gotten less blue over the past 3 elections. It went from Obama at about 65% to Biden at about 57%. And on the other side, Trump has chipped away at the margin, improving both on Romney and his first run in 16. Next door, it's similar to many other Rust Belt counties that used to vote heavily for Obama, but this county actually flipped in 16 and supported Trump. Then in 2020, it ticked slightly bluer, but basically maintained its 6-point advantage for Trump. Now, if you want to hover over some of the low population counties, you can see that many of them already supported Mitt Romney back in 2012 by significant margins. But in 16, Trump sparked heavy shifts toward him and the Republicans. And then in 2020, it's kind of a mix. Some of these counties did get slightly redder, but some of them did get a little bit bluer. One last county to take note of here is going to be in the Southwest. This is Vigo County, and this is formerly one of the top tier clear bellwether counties in the country. It correctly supported the winner for president from all the way back in the 1950s up until 2020 when it incorrectly voted for Trump. So this is a famous county, and you can see that it voted for Obama back in 12, even though Romney won the state by 10 points. In 16, it went sharply toward Trump, and then in 2020, it was pretty much stagnant. So Democrats used to have a significant appeal in a lot of these working class counties in the Midwest. Now, another way to take a look at these shifts are to get on this map here. Now, for whatever reason, a good portion of the data is missing, but this will show you the detailed view all the way down to a precinct level. So we can pull in on the Indianapolis area, and of course we see a ton of blue in Marion County, Biden winning many of these precincts with over an 80 to 90% margin. North of there in Hamilton County, we can see the suburbs start to get a lot lighter blue, and then eventually it turns to red. Now the thing we can do is click right here, and this will show you the shifts between 16 and 20. If we do that, then all of a sudden we see a ton of blue, and that is dominated by the suburbs moving sharply toward Biden and the Democrats. Most of those are easily double-digit shifts. Now deep into Indianapolis itself, we can see some of these precincts actually did move toward Trump. There's just not that many, and most of them only moved by low single digits. So when you're trying to gauge which way the state is going to trend, this is going to be a key spot to take a look at. So I can't cover everything, but feel free to take a look at the rest of the state if you'd like. If you want yet another way to take a look at these shifts, we could get on this map here that has the red and the blue arrows. These are the shifts between 16 and 20. Red arrows move toward Trump, blue arrows move toward Biden. The bigger the arrow, the bigger the shift. So on a zoomed out view, we can see that there's a lot of red and a lot of blue. So it's kind of a mix, but the bigger arrows are clearly blue, and those did move more toward Biden. Now we can also click on any one of these arrows to get a more detailed breakdown. So let's go all the way to the northwest and take a look at Lake County. So this county, which is right outside of Chicago, did move toward Trump. We can see that both Biden and Trump gained raw votes, but Trump gained a lot more. Biden was at 7,900 while Trump was at 16,000. Now the third party vote did drop off dramatically. It went down over 61%. That was a raw 2.8% reduction all the way down to just 1.5%. So throughout all those shifts, Biden went down 1.3% while Trump went up 4.1%. Now the county itself wasn't really that close. Biden still won it by about 57 while Trump was under 42. So again, you could do the same thing for every county, and as always, all the links will be down below in the description. Now another thing that might indicate which way this state is going to trend are going to be the specific demographics. Here's some of the national exit polling from back in 2020. It's going to break it down by sex, age, race, income, education, etc. Now this could have little bearing on which way these groups are going to shift in 2024, but it does go to show where Biden and Trump could theoretically make some gains if these trends continued. Now a better way to look at it might be to glance at the exit polling specific to Indiana. And here it is right here. We can see that Trump won both men and women by double digits. Trump also won every age group, and if you go down to education, Biden was able to capture the postgraduate voters. So there's a lot of data here to check out. The last thing I'm going to point out is independent voters actually broke for Biden by double digits, 53 to 35. There's just not a lot of independents in this state and far more Republicans. So in addition to the demographic turnout, the turnout overall might be a factor. This map here will show you the turnout in recent federal elections. So for Indiana, back in the 2018 midterms, their turnout was at 46%. In the 2020 presidential election, of course, it spiked like with many other states up to 61%. Then the number at the top indicates the turnout in the 2022 midterms. There it sank all the way down to about 37%, and that actually was lower than most of the other states. So turnout and enthusiasm could be a big factor for determining a shift. So there's not a lot of high points here for the Democrats. However, if we go back to the recent 2022 midterms, the best performance for a Democrat was for the Secretary of State. They got just under 1 million votes and were at about 54%. That 14-point gap is a little bit lower than the 16.1 we saw for president. So the last thing we're going to do is take a look at the polling accuracy back in 2020. So as I just mentioned, it was a 16-point win for Trump, but the aggregate polling had Trump ahead by anywhere from 9 to 11 points. So that's about a 5 or 6 point underestimation of Trump's support. That's typical for what we've seen in other more competitive Rust Belt states. For whatever reason, when Trump is on the ballot in both 16 and 20, not all, but many states have vastly underestimated his support. It doesn't mean it's going to happen again this time, but it might be something to keep in the back of your mind. So after all that, which way will Indiana trend? A lot of it might depend on the popularity of the Biden administration. If it stays low, then I could easily see the state moving slightly toward the right. If he gets it back up, then I could see see it moving a little bit toward the left. Probably not a dramatic amount of movement either way. We've clearly seen the suburbs move sharply toward Biden, but there are a few bright spots in more urban areas for Trump. There's just not that many. Last time, a lot of the red counties did get slightly redder. If those counties revert back and go a couple points toward Trump, that could offset his losses elsewhere. But if Biden is able to make gains in those rural red counties, even if it's only slightly, that's another thing that could make the state a little bit less red. It wasn't that long ago that Obama was able to capture the state, but since then the demographics and Trump's appeal has mostly resonated across much of the state. It's always possible we see some sort of a surprise shift, but with polarization the way that it is, unless there's significant third-party support, I would guess the state would vote within a couple of points of what it did back in 2020. We'll have to see what happens, but that's an overview of some of the recent political history for Indiana, so let me know in the comments. What do you think about this state? It's considered the crossroads of America, but which way do you think it's going to shift politically? Is the Trump brand losing its edge and the state is going to go bluer? Or is Biden's weak popularity going to make this state even redder? Which counties are you taking a look at the most? Let me know down below on your way out. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Join if you'd like to support the channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.